Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening as we go through round, was it 5 or so? Something like that anyway, of Super Rugby. Is it 5 or 6? Oh dear, who knows? We're into it now. It's just kind of part of normal life, isn't it? Round 7, oh no, round 6 it was. Round 7 is coming up. And yes, a whole bunch of intrigue on this. Could the Crusaders get their first win of the season? Could the Highlanders get their first win over a New Zealand team in 3 years? All these kind of things. And I had to throw that one in because look, it's Cornflake. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's a long old weekend, this one, isn't it? It's just rugby kind of just all blended into nothing. We was talking about before we started. It's like, Saturdays felt like Sundays and Fridays felt like, I don't even know, Saturdays and Mondays and Wednesdays. And I mean, because it's anniversary down here day tomorrow as well. So you get even longer off. You got like 5 days in a row. I have no idea what that is. It could be Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday. Don't know.
Well, as I work in tourism, where I do mine tours and gold mine tours, and I do cycling tours as well. It's been a very busy weekend for me. So hence I've been working all weekend. So last Friday I had off because obviously public holiday people don't like to pay time and a half. And my next day off is a week tomorrow. So not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday. So I'm working like 9 or 10 days straight. So yeah, all a bit knackered and
slave work.
But hey, we're here for you guys every Monday at 8 p.m. to talk rugby. Well, nearly every Monday. We do try. But as we're not paid for it, sometimes, unfortunately, real life gets in the way, folks, like COVID did a couple of weeks ago. But hey, I'm fully back on form now. Back in with the beers and stuff. I mean, I must have about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks without a beer. It was a real struggle. Never mind all the sore throats and COVID and temperatures and stuff. The lack of alcohol. I mean, geez, was a hard one to take. But down south, you say it's getting a bit nippy down there as well. When winter's coming.
Winter's arrived. Winter is here. It's cold. It's cold now. Normally it's always hot on Mondays. It seems to be when I come into this little room and melt. Now I come in here and it's cold, but it's all right because it warms up very fast. But winter's certainly packing in. So all that exciting, dry weather rugby we've seen where they're running around and, hey, doing all that flash stuff, that dry weather, well, Fiji says not anymore. And we're not far behind them, trust me.
Fiji cold. Says you don't need dry weather to have exciting rugby. But hey, never mind. That's because I think they get a bit more practice playing in that style of whereas we're kind of a bit softer sometimes and go, wet day? I think we won't train tonight, boys. In the pub for a couple. Maybe that's just club rugby that I'm kind of used to. But yes, but you're not allowed to put your winter sheets on and until Anzac Day, isn't it? I think that's the rule.
Never.
So you're gonna have to suffer for another couple of weeks.
No, it's still too hot for that. The summer all year round.
Summer all year.
Just like shorts.
Having a quick scan of the old rugby news and. Apart from injuries, which we'll get on to, I guess, during the games, not much going on. We've got the standard stuff of All Blacks overseas, talking about how overseas players should get selected. Ardy Surveyor's the latest one. Forget it, boys. Look, we understand it from a player's point of view. Absolutely. You want to get paid as much as you can and play for the All Blacks. Sorry, that's not how the world works. Or that's not how you end up with a winning All Blacks team. If you do that, you end up like Wales, okay? Or Australia at the Rugby World Cup. That's what happens when you start selecting players overseas and you don't have control over your players, so that you don't have all the extra kind of weekends together that lead to cohesion and lead to a team that actually knows what it's doing, rather than meeting the week before a game and losing and at the end not really knowing what they're doing. Now, remember, folks, the only thing that pays for rugby in international rugby, but especially New Zealand rugby, is the All Blacks, right? Everyone else loses money, right? Okay, so number one is if the All Blacks aren't doing well and aren't getting big sponsors because they're doing well, then the whole thing falls apart at the moment. Now, that's not saying that that's how it should be, but just saying that's how it is due to some interesting or even bad administration in some places. But there you go. Or very selfish, very self-centered administration anyway on that side of things. Did you spot any rugby news around the last week or so?
No, not really, actually. No, not much. Hey, look, like I say every week, politics be damned. Away with you. Don't care. game time is on, so that's all that matters. It's game time. That's a priority. Your money can go fly a kite. I mean, look. You know what today is, right? Today's the day. The date today is April the 1st, right? And I did see, Joe Schmidt has selected David Warner to be an assistant coach to the Wallabies. I saw that, and I'm like, please try harder. I mean, please, come on, you April Fool's joke people. They're not even that good. Oh, Taranaki isn't allowed. Is it Taranaki? No, Hawke's Bay isn't allowed to wear the black and white stripes. They're going to wear yellow. Come on. At least, like, I could read that any day of the week and go, well, that's just fake news bullshit. Move on. I read that today, and I thought, okay, come on. That's my news, is April Fool's jokes, people. Try harder, because this year was utterly pathetic. Utterly pathetic. There you go.
Last year, I nearly got. It wasn't until about halfway down the actual article that was that or piece put out by Good George Brewing. It's a brewery out of Hamilton. I like the beer. I like to support the money when I've actually got some spare cash, but not at the moment, unfortunately. Having had to engine rebuild on my car and having to put a new hot water cylinder in the house. Yeah, but feeling poor at the moment. Ouch. Yes. So they had this piece how they were teaming up with what's the first the church that what's his name So they made this whole article about whole piece about how they're teaming up with them to create a joint beer and I was like, geez, I'm gonna have to leave. I'm gonna have to stop if they're gonna mix with those sort of people. That ain't my. And then I realized that 3/4 of the way down, it's kind of they made one comment like April Fool. Thank God for that. Because dear. Yeah,
yes,
Tamaki. Get involved with Tamaki's crowd. Brian Tamaki, thank you. That's Simon puts it in the live chat there. But yes, and I was kind of like, oh my God. And then yes, it turned out to be April Fool's. Thank God. But I thought that was a good one. I enjoyed that one.
So I say, if anyone in the comments that's watching has got a good one they've seen today, please enlighten me, because I've seen nothing but trash. So if you've seen a really good one that's almost got you like that, please do let us know. Let us know. Write it out in the comments. Tell us where to find it. I'm intrigued by a good one that might sucker you in.
There we go. So anyway, so the rugby of the weekend kicked off with the Crusaders versus the Chiefs. There was an April Fool's joke about the government banning walking. Okay. Well, with this crowd and their love of petrol engines, I wouldn't be surprised they said, yeah, no walking, everyone has to drive everywhere. But no. Crusaders versus Chiefs. Crusaders obviously clearly on one of their worst run in history. The Chiefs having won the last 2 games down in Christchurch, I think, coming into this, or at least one down there twice recently. Coming into this with decent form, I think we're all saying that this should be a game that the Crusaders that the Chiefs go in as favourites, even though it is down there, and we expect them to go well. But the Crusaders got off to a real good start in this game, getting a couple of early tries to pull themselves out into the lead. A bit of a foot race into the corner for one, and then the prodigal son has come back, Johnny McNichol, in the corner for his first of 2 tries, I mean, this was the kind of shot in the arm that the Crusaders needed, wasn't it, to get themselves in the lead, get themselves in a good position, and actually get some belief in the team.
Yeah, well, key word there, belief, confidence, right? A little bit of acknowledgement to themselves that they have the capabilities to compete and get into positions to win. I think most of these players, there's enough experience in that Crusaders squad that they know how to win from positions. I think it's just a lot of the issues they're having with that continuity and with the fresh faces and not having that sort of combination and with the other players, that are coming in through with that team. But it's coming better for them now. The Johnny McNichol, great to see him back, right? I mean, I gave it a stab at him a couple of weeks ago, being used to losing with the Scarlet side, but hey, he made a big impact throughout that game. So really, really good for the Crusaders, getting off to a good start. I kind of questioned why the Chiefs didn't start Josh Ioane in that pivotal role in the number 10 jumper, going with Josh Jacob. I mean, what? It's like Jacob with an M. I don't really understand his name. But regardless, young guy, really inexperienced. I want to just hear of the Chiefs win a little bit of the fact of like, hey, we can throw in a couple of young guys here, and we should be good enough just to push our way through. But I think they kind of suffered a bit of how the Crusaders have gone with the first 4 rounds of this competition, where they learned that number 10 is an extremely pivotal position on the field. And to me, a name like Ioane in that position would have made a massive difference to that team. But yeah, confidence and a little bit of continuity. How good have we seen now Riley Hoeper in that number 10 jersey actually starting to look like, hey, he's not that bad of a player at this sort of level. He can certainly hold his own. And the good news is that we've got guys like Ray Hana who come back on. And I think when he came on off the bench, looked considerably stood out, as in he looked considerably better than everyone else. So he come on, and his impact, the way he ran the ball, certainly I think for the Crusaders, you could tell, hey, this guy's got a bit of something special about him in the little bit where we've seen from him at this level. So yeah, good performance from the Crusaders, started off well. And we've seen a bit of that old Crusaders where it's just like, hey, we're in charge now. And the Chiefs kind of didn't have that same power and impact from their bench as we've probably seen from them in the last few weeks. So yeah, great for the Crusaders. And man, we went into this week going, hey, this is going to be an easy week of tipping. We're going to get 6 from 6 and cut dry. And bang, straight off the whistle, first game, we get it wrong.
Yeah. Now, the other big thing here with the Crusaders managed to do is every time the Chiefs scored, they managed to reply. And that meant they got a 2-score lead, and they kept a 2-score lead the whole time. So they were never actually put under scoreboard pressure, right? So we'll still have to wait and see how this team reacts if it gets close, because maybe there might still be some mental scars from those opening 5 rounds. But yeah, they got their head in front, and they used that score, and they always replied. And that was really important, that they never let the Chiefs back into this one. Because if they did, then I think it would have been a problem. Yes, I did look at once we saw we made a kind of just the predictions before the teams came out. Then you look at the teams and go, what are the Chiefs doing? It looks like this is a game they've decided is one we're going to lose, so we're going to rest players. It was essentially to me how I kind of read it by putting Jacob in there at 10. Now, as your first ever start in Super Rugby, and you make it against the Crusaders in Christchurch, that's not friendly. That's not nice. That's not how you bring a kid in, right? A home game against the Rebels. That's how you bring a kid in, not an away game at the Crusaders. So to me, this seemed like the one that they'd actually decided, we're going to allow ourselves to lose this one. This is one we're going to sort of. It's not worth the effort. It's not worth sort of spending some matches in this one. We'll save our matches for later. To me, was what I kind of read from the team selection. Now, sure, if Clayton McMillan was on here, he'd rip my head off and say, Paul, you're talking rubbish. We want to win every game. But come on. We do know they do juggle the resources, and they choose their All Blacks weekends. And that's what they did here with Dave McKenzie. As they went, okay, yeah, we're not going to expose Dave McKenzie to this kind of game because, hey, we'll keep it for games we know we can win. To me, that was kind of what was here on this one. So I thought that was, sure, Anselm Brown and stuff were playing, but I think he was coming back, wasn't he? So there's in both sides had a few players coming back, as you mentioned, Rivers Ohana as well in this one. So the Crusaders did well. But remember, it was a foot race for that first try. It wasn't a clear-cut thing. For that one, the Eagles try I think was pretty good from memory. But those 2 early scores were vital in this game for them. And the Chiefs could never just quite get themselves back on terms, because whilst we sort of came in this with probably the Chiefs being. Or with the idea of probably the Chiefs, and perhaps a bit of heart over head here, but the Chiefs being kind of favourites for this year, they've not quite lived up to that billing. They've had a couple of losses. It's not been the plain sailing of your Hurricanes. They've not been cruising through yet. They're doing well enough that to be in that kind of top 5 from memory. They're still in 4th place after this loss, but it's not been totally convincing. They've got the same sort of points difference as the Brumbies, for example, and the Reds. So yeah, they've not been dominating as the favourite team as I thought they might do this season. So they're not quite hitting on their all cylinders. But then again, do you need to before the last 3 games?
Well, I guess they don't need to because they've got off to such a good start, haven't they? That they've got the points in the bank. They probably look quite comfortable. I'd kind of go the opposite from what you're saying, that they went into this game expecting Blues. I reckon they went into this game expecting that the support staff around a guy on his first start would be good enough to cover him and to kind of make up for what he lacks in experience and capabilities. When you got those players he's got around him, you kind of go, well, surely, you got Tupai, you got Antonina Brown, you got Stevenson. Sure, Xavier Rhodes a bit fresh, but certainly capable at this level. Your back row is very experienced. I think they kind of thought that they'll get away with it, especially the Crusaders, starting with four losses, 5 losses, whatever it is on the trot, and going into this, I think a little bit of maybe overconfidence and believing that they could get the job done. But still, to me, okay, resting McKenzie's one thing, but I still think, I would have put Ioane in there. It just makes no sense to go full on, put that guy on the bench, give him the end of the match. And unless there was the flip side of that, they're like, okay, we'll start this young guy, but we don't want to expose him to the potential pressure that could be in the last 10, 15 minutes of this game if it gets really, really tight. I mean, that's the only kind of reason you'd go to say, hey, let's bring the experience off the bench. But then you'd think, well, why doesn't that experience come on a lot earlier in the game? And when do those substitutes, I'm looking through of when possibly he come on. He did come on. So Joshua only come on just before the hour mark. So maybe the last 20 minutes, go for a bit of a closer. But hey, aside from that, I can't really think of much else to really justify that for me, not putting Ioane in there. But on the Crusaders side of things, I will say big thank you to Rob Penny. Thank you so much. When Mitchell Drummond got injured or got ill earlier in the week, that they gone and brought in, Noah Hotham to start at 9 instead of the Bulldog grandpa, who looked completely rubbish when he come off the bench. But hey, Hotham had a great game. Really, really had a good game. And, you say about how these Crusaders, had such a bad start, but it's ominous signs, man, because they are unearthing some players who are actually starting to go and look and make you look and go, okay, Jamie Hanna is a damn workhorse, man. That guy does some absolute massive work for a relatively unknown sort of player. So this is typical Crusaders, and I think I'm right back on that horse of like, if they get inside that top 8, do you really want to play them? Whether it's in Canberra, whether it's in Waikato, whether it's in Queensland, I don't really care. They're still going to be very, very tough coming into that season because I think now, again, players are coming back and they're on the bye too. So they have, I think they're talking post-match to Penny as well. There's about 3 or 4 players who are going to be coming back for their next game. And you're talking guys like Blackadder, who are going to add massive impact to this team. So, okay, we gave them a bit of a pounding in those first 4 or 5 weeks, but you're going to rest on those Crusaders on your laurels, and I think the Chiefs really found that out last weekend.
Now, look, I mean, we always said through this that it was injuries with the Crusaders' problem, and that if they got themselves in the top 8 with the players back, they were going to be a contender that you don't want to mess around with. And we also said that, that the next game, Waratahs away, I think it is in 2 weeks' time, was when they had to start winning. So the fact they've got one on the board before then is massive for them to go into that. Yeah, to go into this bye week with the confidence, with the morale boost of this game, knowing you've got a whole bunch of names coming back. Sure, they're second bottom of the table. They're not where they want to be, but they're not in a totally awful place. Okay, they're not in a Western Force Moana Pacifica place, right? Who are down there as well, and you can't really see how they're going to get all the way back up, right? Whereas you can see how this team can get up, and there's a bunch of those teams in that kind of 7 to 9 range who'll be thinking, okay, that's one less spot in the top 8. It's going to be that little bit harder for us to get in the top 8. Or maybe 6, maybe sort of 6 down to 9 kind of thing, where they'll be kind of they're not yet. They are bottom of the table. They're not where you want to be, but they're not in a horrible place either. At the end of the day, as long as we don't start hearing Rob Penny getting pulled in for review meetings, because if that happens, then the wheels could fall off. But as long as the administrators stick with their man, they should be okay. Moving on then to the Tars versus the Rebels. And boy, what a strange game this one was. Looking at the how the hell the Rebels came away with the win from this, I'm not sure. The Tars dominated the first half with possession and territory, but just could not get any points on the board. When you play an entire half of rugby in the opposition's half, you expect to get some points. You do not expect to be, what was it, sort of something like 8-all or something stupid at half time.
17, I think it was.
Or 7-10, yeah, exactly. You don't expect to be behind at half time when you've been sat in their 22 or in their half for the whole game. And your opposition has a line out that doesn't work. And they still somehow, the Rebels came away with a slight lead. Sinclair, I'm sorry, that was just dumb. How that didn't get upgraded to red, I don't know. Shot that was head on head. That was clearly a shoulder. It was a shoulder charge. There was a kind of fake mini wrap that came afterwards. But how the hell that didn't get upgraded, I don't know. The Tars management must have been pulling their hair out at halftime.
This game was bizarre because you can't say they didn't deserve it, the Rebels, right? But their opportunities that they created and that they took were not well constructed. They weren't like, oh, that's some good rugby. It's like, boy, how the hell they got away with that? How was that bounce gone their side? How was this little 50-50 opportunity of the bounce of a ball or a risky popped offload or little something pass has always gone to hand for them when it really, really mattered. But hey, is anyone really complaining? How good is it for the Rebels to crack on that? And they got dominated. They didn't control the game in any aspect, but when they had something that did go their way, they took it. And I mean, you can't really fault them for just their ability to take their opportunities. I mean, the whole game is not one you look at the stats and read about. You just look at the scoreboard and who scored and just go, well done, Rebels, because it really doesn't make sense unless you probably watch the game and went, okay, well, that's how they've got away with that try or sort of things like that.
Penalties 18-4 is perhaps the one area that the Waratahs really screwed up big time. Let's be honest. But every other stuff they dominated. But they got themselves in position, just let them off. But I mean, how Lancaster scored his try? He stood there. He's watching the boys do a driving maul. He's totally asleep, not paying attention at all. Maffey waves his arm at him, going, "Wake up!" Comes off the side of the maul, pops the ball up, and Lancaster's like, "Oh shit!" Cat try in the corner. You're like, mate, you're supposed to be switched on. You're supposed to be a professional rugby player. You're not supposed to be asleep on the wing. That's what happens at club rugby level by amateurs, right? It's not supposed to happen at professional level. But
first half for him. Yeah, exactly. But like, I think they were a bit more structured. I think in the second half. I think the first half was really where it was wild and out of control. But I think they didn't get in control of the game, but they had more control of their positions. Whereas that first half, like, I'm pretty sure they tried to Lockie Anderson was off a little chip and chase. He regathered and passed it off the floor, and it was just all just random sort of luck opportunity sort of stuff that kept them in that first half. But the Rebels were wasteful. They didn't take their chances at all, and getting hammered when you're on. Sorry,
the Tars were wasteful, not the Rebels.
Yes, I mean the Waratahs were wasteful. Yeah, they were really wasteful. All that opportunity and giving away silly penalties. And Scrum made a big difference in the second half. As you'd expect of Tupou coming on as well. He made a big difference at Scrum. They really demolished the Waratahs Scrum in their second half as well. So little things made a big difference. But yeah, look, this is a game that the Waratahs should have been so far ahead of in the first half that the Rebels were just kind of trying to do damage control and find a way back into the game. But hey, I am in no complaint of this whatsoever. It was a weird, fun game to watch. It's one where you kind of want the underdog to win, and the stuff that happens, it's just so out of left field that you kind of just as much as happy you are to see it happen as you are that it actually happened to the right sort of team to get themselves in the game. But what was good about this match, though, is Will Harrison's back. Like, yay, where did he go? I mean, he was such a massive talent a couple of years ago, and a couple of years out injured. Massive injuries, the poor guy. I didn't even know he was out. I thought he went overseas and has fallen into the depths of Pro D2 in France or something like that. But no, he's been out with a massive injury, and he's back. Oh, I mean, how stacked is Australia now? Will Harrison's back. Great for them. They're absolutely great. And it was good to see him come off the bench, have a bit of an impact. He doesn't look like he's missed too much of his step. I think he'll be back. And really challenging for that number 10 jumper at the Waratahs in next 3-4 weeks, hopefully for him as well. So good to see him back. I was really happy to see him. I rated him highly when he really burst onto the scene. So hopefully big things for him. But the Waratahs, hey, round 1 against the Reds, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure they looked really good, and I thought this could be a decent season for the Waratahs. Now it's a bit like they're back to the usual Waratahs that we've known for the last couple of years, where they've just not got that continuity in their side to just finish and put teams away. It's like that killer instinct, right, of just doing things and giving away stupid penalties and stupid errors and stuff like that. So, hey, well done, Rebels. That's, man, for me, massive win, huge win, catastrophic for the Waratahs.
After 6 rounds, you say the Waratahs are 1-5, and you ask them, who's their win against? And you say the Crusaders. They've lost to everyone else. You'd have some people say, right, put that person in the loony bin. He's mad. He doesn't know which way's up. But yes, that's their record so far. 1 win from 5, with their only win over the Crusaders. So yes, it's to be fair to them. Look, they've played the Reds, Highlanders, Blues, the Drua away. They've not had the easiest schedule, but even so. This was one they let get away, and this is, I think, this basically is them saying top 8's a massive ask for them now. After that one, Rebels though, a side that we thought that people were like, is this side going to exist? Okay, it's going to exist to the end of the year apparently. How are the players going to react to that? Well, apparently by having 3-3. Whereas most of us are like, well, this is a bottom 2 team. They've won half their games. They're currently sat in 6th, with 14 points. Now, the team above them, the Reds, have also got 3-3, are only 2 points ahead on 16. But the tail comes into their points difference. The Reds plus 36, the Rebels minus 54. They've won half of their games, and their score difference is minus 54. When they lose, they lose. When they win, they sneak it. Which shows us that actually there is some grit here in this team, that they actually do sneak those wins there. But boy, oh boy, yeah, minus 54. The kind of the same. If you think that the Waratahs 1 win and 5 losses, minus 18. And you're like, wow, okay, that's this Rebels. Yeah, when they win, they just win. When they lose, they lose. It goes off the rails. So. Look, they've got to enjoy this. They've got to enjoy every win they have this season, because, yeah, who knows if it's their last, and who knows if some of these guys will have contracts next year. So they've got to enjoy this, right? This
is a game for me that the Rebels would have lost last year before.
Oh, hell yeah.
Probably most of their history. This is something that this team's, like you say, you sure that if they win, they win tight. But typically, the Rebels, if the game's tight, they're on the wrong side of it, right? So it's actually encouraging, not only for their fan base, but for them as well. They're actually, and what would they prefer to win? This is a big win against, one of the big boys of Australia. So this is quite I think, a monumental sort of game for them. I think they'll take a lot of massive confidence heading into the rest of the season from this sort of game. And it was good to see, Dalgunu was playing prick. Good, and he made a difference to that team as well. As much as I don't really like for what he's being a money hungry. Sure, that's why they play their professionals, but come on, put yourself in that shop window if you reckon you're that good. So yeah, the backline performed really well. You saw all their tries, aside from Tupou coming from that as well. But yeah, a little bit of youth going through, but I think they're just getting a bit of reward from playing a bit more exciting than probably you'll be used to seeing them play, and it's actually coming off for them. And hey, we know how to win. We won 3 games. When's the last time the Rebels won 3 games in Super Rugby in 6 rounds? Probably never.
Absolutely. Now the next one. Now rugby, okay, is an outdoor sport. It's a game for all conditions. apparently it used to be a game for all sizes as well. It's not really a game for all sizes anymore. So yes, so no, I've seen a couple of comments that that it was a bit of a disgrace, the pitch condition and blah blah blah. Now look, I'm sorry, but when you've got that much rain, you're going to have standing water, unless you have got yourself a couple of $1 million pitch. Now, are we supposed to say, you know what? Unless you're a rich country, you're not allowed to play rugby. Now, because this is an international stadium, right? This is not a kind of this isn't playing at Counties Manukau or something. This is Eden Park for Fiji, right? So, look, I'm sorry, but unless we're going to say that poor countries aren't allowed to play rugby, then this is what we're going to get occasionally. And look, we get it. It happens once a season or once or twice a season across like 4 or 5 leagues, right? It's not a big deal as a one-off game. Would I want to watch all rugby like this? Probably not. No. I definitely wouldn't turn up and watch it live, even if it was 38 degrees the day before. Even if it was warm, I still wouldn't want to stand in that rain and watch a game. But as a one-off thing that happens occasionally, I'm okay with it. And look, the Drewers showed you 150 passes in this game. Sure, we had 18 scrums. There were a bunch of knock-ons, and looking at the weather, unsurprisingly, let's be honest. But no, I've got no complaints with that kind of weather. I don't think it should be. I think the game should have gone ahead. Your thoughts?
Oh yeah, even the thought of someone saying that game should have been postponed or put off or something because of the weather makes me just want to throw up, because it's look, what are you playing? We're not playing. It's not cricket. You don't need a nice pristine pitch that's all dry and a nice dry ball or anything like that. No, it's an outdoor winter sport. It's okay. Obviously, the whole seasons thing is out the window these days, but rugby is a winter sport. And what happens in winter? That's right, it rains. And no, Fiji does not have $1 million to put in a nice big pitch, artificial turf. Who wants artificial turfs anyway? Throw them in the bin. Want to play rugby on grass? No, get out of here. You say that, you go put yourself in the wheelie bin and put yourself out for collection next week, because that's a rubbish take. It's an outdoor sport. It's going to be played in outdoors. It's going to rain. Deal with it, because that's part of the sport. Both teams have to play on the same pitch, don't they? They have to play in the same puddles, all that sort of stuff. So, it doesn't make any difference. Not everyone has a roof stadium like Dunedin, but no, it's Fiji, and I think that's what a lot of people don't know, especially that aren't from the Southern Hemisphere or affiliated, to watching Pacific Island rugby, is that they don't have the money. If you're going to compare it to stadiums throughout Europe and France or in England, this is literally almost a paddock, isn't it, really? With a stand on one side. It's hardly really maintained to the level. There's not a guy that sits out there and gets his wee scissors and snips all the grass out to a nice, even level. Literally, some guy probably goes out for his sheep and gets a good little clipper cuts and
to be fair to the guy,
push mower.
To be fair to the guy who looks after it, does he get paid $1 million to look after it? No, but I think he looks after it like it is. He doesn't have
the resources.
It has other resources, but it has the love, right? It's not a hybrid pitch like you get at Twickenham, which would drain nicely for this, right? But it's not that, but it is lovingly looked after. Hence, actually, it was wet and it was water, but it wasn't muddy. It was still green, right? The guy, you could still see the color of the jerseys, which was amazing. When you consider how wet that game was. It wasn't a mud fest. No. It was still a grass pitch. So
you know why that is? It's probably because, as Simon says, it was 38 degrees. That's because if it's so hot and dry, the water doesn't actually absorb in straight away, and it just pools, which is probably why you had not much mud, because the ground underneath was so dry, it hadn't actually soaked it in yet to make it like mud. So I never thought about that watching that. The kids were blue, weren't they? Still, the kids players running around in white.
You didn't know who was who. You didn't have to worry about that. Well, I mean, apart from the fact that one team played in dark blue and one team played in black. So it was pretty much a kick clash, even in the dry. But it wasn't a problem from that piece there. Simon says there are pitches in the Major League Rugby worse than the pitch in Fiji. Oh, absolutely. The US. Look, in the US, it is it's a different ball game. They're having to play on pitches like American football pitches, which is a problem there, because American football pitches are narrower. So you end up with a bit that basically the groundsman doesn't look after that you're playing on. which is unfortunate. So yes, It's definitely a step up from them. At least, yeah. Look, this is a purpose-built rugby pitch. At the end of the day, whereas the ones in the US are not, or some of them. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Some of them are. I mean, the Houston SaberCats, if that's what they're called, have got their own pitch that they've made that they own, and that's a great facility they've got set up there. But for what is a 10,000 seat stadium, look, I'm not saying it's not Twickenham they've got, right, or the Millennium Stadium, but as far as a purpose-built rugby pitch, it's very good. So anyway, but moving on from that, let's talk about the actual game. The Western Force started well, got themselves a nice early try, and then it was one-way traffic. Not just one-way traffic for points, but also one-way traffic for cards as well. It just seemed like that it was all about the Fijian Drua, not about the Force at all, until Chase Tiatia snagged one at the just on the hooter. But yeah, boy oh boy, look, the Fijian Drua showed you that yes, all this talk of wet weather rugby, of just pass it to just play 10-man rugby and kick. You don't have to do that if it's warm. If your fingers still have got feeling, you can still catch the ball. Right? It's not like playing in the UK where it's where it's like 0 degrees and raining. This is still 30 degrees, so it's still warm, and yes, it's wet, but you've still got feeling. Your muscles still are moving. You can still actually play, and boy, they did play. And I thought we had some very nice rugby. It's very nice passing from the Drua in that first half to rack up. What was it 3 tries? Oh, no, 2 tries. Sorry, until they got their first yellow card, and then they actually played sensible rugby. A man down, started kicking penalties. I mean, is this a Fijian side? I mean, what's going on here? This is a that shows the influence of Mick the Kick. That they took the threes and they're already 12-5 up, and a lot of people go, "Oh, kick to the corner." No, and especially as he'd missed his 2 conversions, or missed one of these conversions already. Yeah, but no, they had a game plan. They stuck to it, and this wasn't just go out there, throw it around rugby. There was some lovely rugby like that, but it was at the right time, at the right part of the pitch, and again, yeah, showing how grown up. It's a horrible word, but you know what I mean. How sophisticated this team has become in their style of play.
Yeah, no, you took my point there. I was going to say this is kind of a combination of. This is why they pick local Fijian players, because let's be honest, most of them know these sort of conditions, right? And this is how they grow up, because they play in these sort of conditions. Hey, it can be 30 degrees outside, and then all of a sudden there's some big typhoon blows through, and your game's still going to be kicking off at 2 p.m. whether you like it or not, right? So, hey, this is what they know, and that's what they love, and that's what they grow up with. But the flip side of it is the development that this team has actually shown in the season of actually what Fiji's typically struggled with is that structure and having a game plan that can develop and change and adapt to the way a match is flowing and the way a match is going, and players who are good enough to lead a team to foresee those changes through. So I think that's a really, really good development this season from the Fijian side, not just in their performances and their results and how much of a fortress it is to go to Fiji now and get a result, but the way that they're actually playing, and they've got that leadership going through that team as well. And they're not here with a whole pile of imported players. This is Fijians, and they are doing the job themselves, which is the best part about it whatsoever. Discipline, yep. Well, that leaves a bit to be desired there, doesn't it? But look, positives, they are still fun. And that's what I worried about with this development of the way they play and getting a bit more structured and what have you. I don't want to lose the Fiji. I don't want to lose those abilities of those Ravu Taumatas and his plays of just being able to beat players with the speed, pouring rain through puddles, just still being able to beat players at pace like it's dry. He's an incredible player, and just that ability to play that style of game that they brought in this match was just at times it's awe-inspiring, really, that they don't give in to those styles where they're just going to play defensively and not run out, not give the ball to the players to run out and do some exciting things. But yeah, really exciting play for them. Enjoyed that game more than you probably should have given it. But it's kind of fun, isn't it, to see, when a kick goes downfield and it goes and just goes, and then your players sliding about 30 meters to catch it, not running. They just dive and do a big swim over through the water, reclaim it. Seen Harry Potter injured, did a big 20-meter dive through the water to reclaim the ball. Hey, that's what makes rugby unique, right? That's what makes it fun and exciting, that you've got to be prepared for any sort of thing. So Western Force, a bit disappointing. I mean, I think they were too professional for this game. As in, they've turned up and gone, what the hell? They'll be the ones that go, we're not playing this. We're not interested in paddles. No, thank you. And kind of, I think the drill just caught them off guard of preparation and just wanting to play rugby. Just the desire to go out there, and you kind of question the Western Force going, how many players are kind of like, ugh, yucky. We don't want to go back. Take us back to Perth. Rain? What is rain? We don't get that in Perth.
Now,
what are you talking about?
To be fair to the Force, they have not trained in this weather for a couple of years, right? Ever. Right? Now, and that told you
is probably the only one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Bay of Plenty. Yeah. Losing 5 lineouts, that's not going to help you in this kind of conditions. Whilst we've been talking about all the passing and running that Fiji did, they kicked the ball 27 times to only 19 by the Force. The Force had 60% territory, even though they kicked the ball less. All the play was in the right place. But again, another one of these ones, when they needed to strike, they did. I mean, that second try by the Drua, it's about the halfway line. Scrum half sees it. Quick, I'm going to tap, run forward 5 steps, pass my winger, boom, he's gone. And it's a try. It's quick thinking, it's being aware, and playing at the right time in the right places, and it's a wonder to see. Now, it does help when the opposition missed 36 tackles, which the Force did. But that's kind of comes back to that. It's a 10-hour flight. They've probably changed twice, or had to do definitely connecting flights. This has not been a direct flight from Perth for this game.
No.
And this matter of, do they want to be there? Do they want to be playing in this weather? I think the answer has been what's going on? It's so foreign to them. It's so strange. Now, sure, look, they're professional rugby players. They do want to play. Don't get me wrong. If you ask any of them, yes, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. But it's that subconscious piece of, I just don't understand what's happening here. All my muscle memory doesn't work, because all the things I would normally do, my brain is saying, is saying, be careful, don't be risky because it's wet, or be careful. And that's what I think was what the problem here is for the Force. I don't think it's I don't think you can I don't think it's anything to do with the sort of the moral character of the players. I just think it's a subconscious thing that they're just not. Yeah, it's just all wrong. This isn't the world. This is a different planet I'm playing on. This isn't how the world works, kind of thing. To me, anyway. But there we go. A bit like the Tars having one win against the Crusaders. It's just not the world. It's a different universe.
It's that situation where if you're going to say, would you like to play in this game here in this stadium right here, or would you like to go play anywhere else in the world, pretty much sort of situation, but go, yeah, we're on the next flight, we're out of here. Whereas a draw would have been like, no, we're here, let's go. It's that mindset of what you're going. But yeah, look, I'm not questioning their professionalism or anything like that. It's just mindset of what you want to actually go out and your game plan and how you want to play. And the Western Force have typically been used to much different. But a lot of it too, I think, would be the game was kind of gone, I think, from the Force before they really realized how they actually want to play this game. A couple of tries inside 20 minutes. The draw would have gone out there and been like, okay, here we go. We know what we want to do. We're used to this, lads. Let's go. And whatever they kind of chant themselves out to the tunnel, prepared. Whereas for the Western Force, I bet there was a lot of last minute scrambling of like, what do we do in this situation? Or how are we going to play this? We want to kick corners. So we want to try and what do we want to do? Scrambling. And it's like, well, hey, try this. If it doesn't work, well, here's another option. Well, I think the draw were a bit more prepared for it. And then, 20 minutes in, okay, you're saying to get a bit of a handle on the conditions, a bit of a handle on the game. And it's like, well, you're already behind by, what would have it been at that point? Couple of tries, 25 minutes in, it was 15-5. The penalty, half an hour gone, 18-5. It's not gone, but certainly it makes things very difficult to come back from that, especially when you're probably still not really comfortable with how you're playing or got a solid game plan in mind.
Yeah. And this was by, as you say, a fun game to watch. The next one.
Yeah.
So yes, well done Force for turning up and actually making it a fun game. It takes two teams right at the end of the day. This next one of the teams didn't turn up to make it a fun game because they missed 38 tries, but there was no excuse here for the fact of slippery wet bodies. Oh, sorry, 38 tackles. There's no excuse here for slippery wet bodies. This was just there's nobody at the post pillar. And therefore, Josh Ioane just walked straight through and scored the try. There is no way ever that Josh Ioane should take a pass straight off the scrum half who's running to the same side of the scrum, same side of the ruck as the play he's playing. There is zero. What's the word? There was zero deception here. It's like I'm going to take two steps, give it to Josh Ioane. He's going to run straight through a hole and just go and run in untouched and put it down. That is a total breakdown of Moana Pacifica's defence. Now, we've been talking about how their game has moved on so much this season that to have this kind of performance was horrible. Possibly the worst performance we've seen this season for me on the side, because just the number of tackles that you got Hoskins Satutu just running straight through two tacklers bouncing off, and there's suddenly line break. 13 clean breaks in this. They're lucky this was only 8:47 at the end of the day. This is to me, I think is probably the worst performance of the team so far this season. And I don't like saying that. I love the idea of the Moana Pacifica.
It's weird. Just what you're saying that I was looking through the stats and comparing, because I found it quite interesting with the draw Force game that there was about 36 defenders beaten by the draw, but only 3 clean breaks. And then comparing that to what you read about the Blues, who made 36 defenders beaten, but had 13 clean breaks. So there was no cover defense. There was no second wave defender. There was no one looking out for their teammates there at all for Moana. Look, I didn't like this game right from the start. The fact that home game in Eden Park against the Blues, that just screamed of wanting me to make me throw up. And hey, look, a positive, that try that Sione Havili scored was really, really cool. It was a really, really good try. And if you just watch that, you'll be like, hey, this team's got a bit about them. But I mean, there wasn't too much else in the way of highlights.
Show about the other 7 tries that the Blues scored, right?
I'm looking for a positive here. Come on, I'm looking for a positive out of something here for Moana. But yeah, look, I agree with you. This is a team that I think has progressed a lot this season. They've looked a lot better. They've looked competitive generally, but I don't know whether it was just one game too many in a long line of games, or whether it was the location thing, where who really was the home team in this. But I don't really buy that one too much. Or the Blues just, I mean, what do you put this down to? They've been like, this is not a performance we've seen from Moana all season. They've looked very tenacious. Sure, defensively they've been a bit wishy-washy. That they aren't the best defending team in the world. They've got the worst points differential in the competition, but still, they've not looked this bad to just get blown completely to smithereens like this. I don't know. The Blues, the Blues just didn't. The Blues didn't look like they were really even trying that hard to make their line breaks. They were just going through the motions, and the defense just wasn't there. Or the players were left over like it was training. It's like, we want to manipulate this player like this, so he moves into here. It's like the Moana was the defensive team on the training run, where how you want them to go into different passages, so you've got the man left over. They played that part perfectly, except they were probably wanting to try and win. Probably wanting to try and defend. It just didn't. Something seemed really off. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was a horrific game to watch, and nothing makes me more unhappy than seeing names like Finney Christie and Caleb Clark on the try scoring list.
And look, I'm going to call out one name here from Moana, because boy, oh boy, Savage, 19 tackles, none missed. Well done, sir. You have put in a major shift. You're the top tackler for your team, and you're about the only starter apart from Tuala, who's playing fullback, who didn't miss a tackle. Tuala only had to make 2, and he made both of them. Well done, Tuala. Nicely done. But Savage, 19 tackles, none missed, mate. Well bloody done. Cracking game by you at lock. But yeah, other players, particularly actually was saying, okay, it's harsh calling out Christian Leofano because he's He's obviously the fly half, but made 3 tackles, missed 5. Now, I'm sure you don't want to make him tackles too many. But the hooker, again, Malalo missing 4 tackles, made 13, but missing 4. Look, that's not what you're being picked for. So yeah, it's. But I thought I'd call out Savage there because he did that. But yeah, I mean, things that will upset you: Caleb Clark making 2 clean breaks, 5 defenders beaten. Perhaps looking back to the kind of form, or well, again, with this opposition, looking back to the kind of this is kind of the stats, the kind of things that he was pulling out 134 yards running with the ball, more than anyone else in the game. These are the kind of things that made him an All Black, but not against this like 4 years ago, but not against this kind of competition, this kind of opposition. They made him look good. But yeah, I mean, Bryce Heem, I don't think he's had 118 yards, 118 meters running with 2 breaks and 9 defenders beaten for a long time. I mean, nine defenders. Talia, we get used to him doing it, right? That's a bit different. But when you got Bryce Heem having 9 defenders beaten, that's just crazy numbers. Look, and I think actually Heem has turned up and added something to this Blues team as being as part of a squad player rather than I think it's added as added something. Even though look, he's an old player, a bit like a Johnny McNichol. Why the hell are you hiring him? And then you see he just turns up and plays a decent game. He's never going to trouble the All Black selectors. Don't get me wrong, but at least he's filling a gap that they have there. I mean, when Harry Plummer came on, I thought I saw him make a break, but no, he didn't have a clean break. Thank God, because I was going to say if Harry Plummer is making clean breaks, your defense really has fallen to pieces. No, that was cool. That was Forbes who came on and did that then. But no, I thought that was when I was watching the game, I was thinking, geez, that's Harry Plummer. Let's move on from this one. I don't think there's much we can learn from it. Yes, when the Blues come up against a bad defense, they score points. No shit, Sherlock. They always have done. They're good at that. But otherwise, I think it's one to move on from as quickly as possible.
I think a final point on this one is, what do the Blues really take out of this game? Apart from inflated heads, inflated stats. Hey, it looks good for them, right? And it's good for their confidence. They got a good win, bonus point in the bank, lovely stuff, great work. But in a team, like, right, this squad, coaching-wise, what have they learned from this? Have they been tested? Have any of their plans been put under pressure? Have they learned what's worked and what's not worked? If anything, they've just learned that things could work. But look, if you really want to push a performance for a Caleb Clark or anything like this, okay, great, you've done it here, whatever, move on. Do it against the Brumbies, do it against the Hurricanes, do it against the Reds, do it against the Chiefs, and do it against all of them. If you're really going to push your motive that way, that's what I'm wanting to look at. But to me, this is, I don't care about the Blues. They can go get in a boat and go sail off somewhere else, because this game for me is a disaster for Moana. Not only performance-wise, but also belief-wise and confidence-wise. They lost this one, even if it was 35-22. It's not just the scoreline. It was the defense, and just the cluelessness of it, and they just looked like they weren't there mentally, physically, or anything. So I'm concerned about what next week's going to be like for Moana. That's my big concern.
Yes, considering who they're playing as well.
Is it the Chiefs?
Yes, it is.
Oh God, a bounce back. Yeah, it's got to be a bounce back. I'm concerned about that.
There's a couple of games next weekend that could blow out, but we'll get onto those in a second. Talking of blowouts, just the timing couldn't be better. Highlanders versus the Hurricanes. Oh dear! 3 years since the Hurricanes since Highlanders have played beaten a New Zealand team, and it wasn't going to be last weekend, because Neepkins, Rasmus Neepkins is turning into a good player attacking with ball in hand, but he's collecting quite a few yellow cards this year. This is not his first. I'm sure I can't remember. I'd reckon he's on probably about 3 so far, which after only 6 or 7 games is not good. Now, I should really check my stats on that one to make sure I'm not. But unfortunately, I can't see they don't seem to give stats on cards on the Super Rugby website. But from my mind, I think he has given away. I know he's definitely had one more. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's had a couple of yellow cards already. So unfortunately, defensively, he's getting caught out. Now, sure, it doesn't help when you're a losing team and having to cover back defence. But which what has happened this time, deliberately killing the ball, trying to save a try, but you need to judge it better because unfortunately that's an area of his game he needs to improve. But look, he's a young kid, and I say going forwards, he's been great. It's just that side of things. So he got himself an early yellow card, which didn't help things. And while he was off the pitch, suddenly it's 14, it's 0-14. You're 2 tries down, and the game's pretty much gone.
I mean, if we've learned anything in the last couple of weeks, is that the Highlanders don't play rugby until at least the hour mark, right? Then that's when the real game starts. It's like last try wins. It's my ball. I'm going home. Those sorts of rules. The street lights have come on, so now it's last score wins. Which even in that regard, the Highlanders still lost anyway. So it didn't really work out for them. But Hurricanes were very clinical. They were very explosive. And we know that, right? We know that from the players they've got and from the members in that team. They made the Highlanders look pretty average. But my concern, much like Moana, is with the Highlanders and just how wasteful they are with the time they have in attacking areas, in the 22 especially. I'm sure Paul will have some fantastic stat about this. But anytime they get in the danger area inside that first 60 minutes, they kick to corners. And like we spoke about the last couple of weeks, right? Teams being forced to kick to a corner rather than taking an easy 3. Rinse and repeat right here. This was the Highlanders. A number of times they got a penalty around the 22 inside the 10-metre line of the Hurricanes half. Could have taken an easy 3. Probably could have chipped up 15-odd points from those easy 3s. Instead, they go to the corner. Generally, 90% of the time, unrewarded. No points out of it. Turnover. They're in attack mode. Hey, they've lost the ball. Where's defense mode? Well, hey, that's gone because we're still in attack mode. Here we go. The Hurricanes are 70 meters down the field. That summed up a lot of that game for me with how the Highlanders were throwing all resources into trying to force their way back into that game by throwing everything at an attack. And then, hey, we lost the ruck, which, I mean, they were very poor in the ruck during that match. The Highlanders, just retention of their own ball, protecting the carrier. They lose the ball. And most of them were still looking at the breakdown when the Hurricanes were breaking the line, 2-3 players out. So that's a big issue for them, for me. But yeah, just being able to put away opportunities, scoring points, and taking something away from your time in the 22 is a major here for the Highlanders going forward. But the Hurricanes, I don't know if it's just me here, but they seem to be getting better. We know they're good, but they seem to be getting better and better and better. But of course, like you mentioned right at the start with injury info, I think they could be in a bit of a blow because I'm not much of a TJ fan. And yeah, it looks like they're going to be looking on him for possibly a few weeks as well, which is a bit of a shame with Roy Gard's injury. But hey, I mean, even that time that he was on the field, Roy Gard looks phenomenal. And I'm with him. I blame the referee. Referee should be, he should take that injury on him. So he should be able to get the referee's leg and like pop his kneecap out or whatever instead, because that was fully the referee's fault on that one.
Wow, I've had some mistakes because I watched highlights in this one. But you look at these, you look at some of these stats that you say, it's this kind of things that show scoreboard pressure was part of this. 15 penalties by the Hurricanes and another three free kicks. So 18 decisions against you, only 9 against the Highlanders, half as many. And the Highlanders didn't kick 1 penalty, right? So that gives you plenty of territory. In this game, possession and territory were 49, 51%, right? One way, one the other way. This was an even game. They had, in theory, equal opportunities. You talk about the turnovers being a problem. It was 19 turnovers each. So the Hurricanes weren't great at looking after their own ball either. But they were already 26 points up. So who cares, right? You're making the other team do stuff they don't want to do, which is a problem. Admittedly, the set piece of the Highlanders also was a disaster. Losing 5 lineouts, losing four scrums. You need that set piece there, and they also couldn't tackle, missing 41 tackles. That's. We've talked about some bad teams, some teams had bad days, right? They missed more tackles than Moana did. If you think about it, right? They missed more tackles than the Force, and it was absolutely pissing it down with rain, right? No excuse under the roof for missing 41 tackles of slippery players, right? This was so defensively, serious questions. Set piece and your platform, serious questions. And then, it was not a good day at the office for the Highlanders. It was not. I don't think it didn't feel. Watching the end didn't feel as bad as Moana. They weren't falling off tackles in the same kind of way.
Yep.
But still, and when you're 33-0 down before you even score, I mean, you go in 26-0. The first thing you do when you come out in the second half is throw an intercept try because you're pushing the game. And then you finish the game with another intercept try as you try and push the game. You're trying to push the game when it's 12-40. What are you going? What are you? If you're throwing 50, what are you gaining by a try at 12-40 that you're throwing 50-50 balls, or even less than that, 30-70 balls, and then get turned over for a try. So get intercepted for a try. So Highlanders trying to get something out of it at the end there, clearly. But I mean, the game was well and truly flown in that first 20-odd minutes, in all honesty, because they were being forced to do stuff that they didn't want to do. And that's what good teams do. They get themselves in a good position to make you do things you don't want to do. As you say, Hurricanes looking better and better. But they put themselves in a situation where they're going to look good because they're making you do things you don't want to do. So it's going to be interesting when, I think they've already beaten the Blues, but if they get in a tight tussle, that's where we're going to really learn about this. And at the end of the day, all these games, they matter because they need to get you into the top 8, right? And this will give them home field advantage. But it doesn't matter about picking up the trophy. It's that final game that's going to decide it, and that one is probably going to be tight. History tells us that final game is the favourites going into that final game, unless you're the Crusaders. They have a tight game, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Now they're not getting tested for that. They're not getting trained for that. So we'll see. Is this the right? Look, at the end of the day, getting wins on the board, lovely. You're never going to say no. But boy, I do think they could do with being tested at some point, so they know what to do in that situation.
They did have that bonus point, that golden point win against the Reds, and I think it was a super round, wasn't it?
True. Yep.
So I mean, they've had look. The Blues game was very close against the Hurricanes. I think that was less than a try in that, or around about a 7 to 10 odd points in that game as well. So they've had some close ones. But this is a game that I think the Hurricanes would have gone into and being like, this shouldn't be a close game, right? This shouldn't be a close game. We should be pumping the Highlanders, and I mean they did. The yellow card probably was a catalyst. And then, the Highlanders are just not a good force of the game team. When they get into those offloading modes, when you see Reece Patchell trying to do an around-the-back offload to a winger, you know it's a bad day at the office, okay? Especially when he throws it straight into a player who's wearing, I'm pretty sure they're wearing yellow in that game, because I can't remember now. I've seen so many shirts lately. Regardless, it's going to be a bad day. But, look, I also, if I'm going to question anything else too, why the hell was Jonah Lowe starting at 13? No, thank you. Look, finisher, winger, I could maybe pull a fullback, but I mean, he was pretty average in that game. Really, really average. I think he's lost a lot of pace. He used to be quite an explosive sort of guy, but he's just not. He just doesn't have that sort of impact anymore. But yeah, for the Hurricanes though, how good were guys like Peter Lakai were phenomenal. Just bulldozing. Numir was insane. They just take no prisoners, those guys. And if Ruben Love's not an All Black this year, if he's fit and he's not an All Black, then geez, there's something massively wrong with the system, because he is literally incredible this season. Absolutely incredible. Don't worry about who else is in any other positions. he's got to go into something straight away. Look, he's probably my starting 15. Best 15 in the competition. There you go. That's a topic for when Super Rugby ends. Don't give Bowden Barrett, throw him in the bin. Put Bowden Barrett in the bin. Don't care. Old past it, not as fast, runs sideways and shuffles passes.
I get what you're saying, but I was still, if Will Jordan's fit, he's in my team.
He's gone. He's gone for the year, isn't he?
I know he's gone for the year, but if he wasn't, but he's still.
If the All Blacks played tomorrow,
yeah.
Okay, the All Blacks play tomorrow. I'm don't include these mugs who are off being rich pricks overseas right now from Super Rugby. Ruben Love, and because Zan Sullivan's injured now as well. I don't know I can't remember how long he's out for. A few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. Ruben Love is head and shoulders. He just intercepts, overlapped two on one last defender, getting intercepts. Which brings me to another point of the Highlanders. You've got a 3-on-2 overlap. Do you know what you don't do? You don't skip a pass on the middle man. No, that just completely makes your overlap completely redundant. And the Reds did it as well against the Brumbies. So that sort of stuff just makes you rip out what little hair you got left. Just that smarts just isn't there, right? 3 men, take the tackle, draw the man, pass, hello. You're at least got 20 meters until the fullback, right? And then where's your good support? Where's your flankers? Where's your scrum half? Hey, you got another overlap on the fullback, you can scoring a try. It's not that hard. I should be a coach, right? Move on.
Oh, dearie me. Yes, it's not that hard. There was a point I was going to make. I've gone blank. I forgot what it was now. But there we go. On these things. But
Brett Cameron's All Black.
The Brett Cameron. He is an All Black. He's got a cap.
Future All Black.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I think, look, one of the good things that come out of the current games is actually people going, right, Brett Cameron's not a bad player. All right. Look, I mean, he's is he better than Stephen Donald? I mean, look, there's an argument here, actually, that's
yes.
that he's actually better than his one cap. Look, I know he got a lot of stick for being a one cap guy against Japan, but there we go. We haven't got to next week yet, but yes, you're right. 4 games next weekend does feel very strange, but that's how they do their buys. And look, if you want to send me down a rant of how Super Rugby administrators set their arse in their elbow, and we can do that for another hour if you like. But generally, I think you've probably heard it a few times before. Don't know there are arse in elbow. Yeah, 4 games in a weekend is just bollocks.
Why the Crusaders play the Waratahs twice?
Well, that's fine. I don't mind that so much, but
weird.
But it is just bollocks how only 4 games next weekend. So on that one. So anyway, well done. Well, yeah, Hurricanes sail on. I mean, fantastic season. Highlanders, look good against Australia, and then as soon as they start playing New Zealand teams, it's probably becoming a mental thing as well. But you're right, Jonah Lowe at 13, it's just poor selection, or just poor. What's the word I'm looking for? Squad building. If you don't have a proper outside centre, because he's a back 3 player. He is not a third. He's not a centre.
And this is typical Highlanders, isn't it? We're putting players who aren't in those positions. Hey, what was it? 3-4 years ago, we're putting our midfielders because we had too many on the wings because we had no wings. Right, yeah. Now we've got all these wings. We're putting them into the midfield. What are we doing? I just don't know. One man, though, I will give a bit of a shout out is I think is going to be a bit of a player in the future is AJ Falia Faiga, the 22. He's come on a couple of times now. Ace goal kicker, really good goal kicker for a young kid. And a good runner. He actually scored a try for the Highlanders that was pulled back because there was a little bit of his finger touched the ball after a little chip through. It was a bit of a player clashing, and he got a touch. But good pace, typically a 10, but I think they might have played him at 12 or did a bit of shift around that back line, moved everyone kind of out with subs later on. But yeah, looks really fun and exciting, attacking player, likes to run the ball. And looks really, really good. So I'm kind of excited to see a bit more of him.
Cool.
And sad news on Josh Timu, who just came back from a long injury and then got injured straight away.
Oh, unfortunately, that is part of the sport. But it is so disappointing. one of the things about actually this is seeing Kiniaholo actually put together more than 2 games has been amazing. Look, he has, I'll say, back in 2017, I think I remember watching him play for Taranaki in a preseason game, and then halfway through the game, he finishes the game in the boot, unfortunately. And since then, he's played for the Chiefs, he's played for the Crusaders, and he's spent pretty much the past 5 years in a boot. Unfortunately, he'll get a few games, and then get himself injured. Get a few games, get himself injured. So to see him actually put together a string against the Hurricanes is fantastic. Because, as I say, it's just injuries have really been holding him back. And as soon as he's put some games together, funnily enough, everyone's going, "Wow, this guy's good." Now, I would have said this kid's good, but he's no longer a kid because he's been injured for so long. But yeah, it's great to see him actually get some game time. Well, actually, just string some games together. It's wonderful to see. Reds versus the Brumbies then. And
he's only 24. Come on, he's only 24. Easy.
Oh, okay. So he really was very young when I first saw him. Then on that one,
right.
And I remember
game of the weekend,
watching a game down in Taranaki, a club game at Taranaki, and look at the team sheet, going, "There's a Barrett there. Shit. Oh yeah, there's not just the 3 you know about. There's a couple more as well, boys."
No. Oh no.
They didn't quite make the grade as far as professional footy players, but yes, it was. There are other Barretts out there who are brothers of them. So yes, when you're on a dairy farm, there's not much to do at night, obviously. Moving on then to the Reds versus the Brumbies. Reds get themselves an early try, but boy oh boy, one of the things about miracle tries is they don't happen very often. And when you try to throw miracle offloads, which the Reds were doing and got to get that try, it's wonderful. It looks great, looks wonderful, but it's not a good sign for the rest of the game if you're going to be throwing miracle offloads like that, because generally it means, yes, it's stuck that time, but it's not going to stick every time. So yes, it was a good start from the Reds to get that early score at home. But this is a Brumbies side that knows how to play, and Lolosio. Now, this is the difference between having Tom Liner, a young guy who's learning his trade, and Lolosio, who I think we've had who's kind of who's taken flack in the past, but now we're seeing him maturing, because this is a 1-point game. The reason they win this game is because he hits every single one of his kicks, and Tom Liner doesn't. That's it. That's what decides who wins and loses this game. So in some ways, man of the match goes to Lolosio, or MVP, because he has to hit those kicks to win this one, especially when they lose 5 scrums. They lost a couple of lineouts, but then again, so did the Reds. But to lose 5 scrums, where basically the Reds know, if we knock it on, there's a 1 in 3 chance of getting the ball back. So hey, it doesn't really matter. We can try things, because they knocked it on. Well, they had 13 scrums. I mean, how butterfingers were the Reds in this game? But it comes down to having that fly half, because the Reds played all the rugby, and probably should have won this game in every way, apart from the scoreboard.
I watched this game, and at the end, looking at the scoreboard, I was kind of perplexed as to how there was only 39 points in it. This was an incredible good game.
19-20.
No, like 39 in total.
Oh, in total. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Yep.
Because it was this is game of the weekend by far. Not because of the scoreboard, not because of the tries. Okay, scoreboard made it exciting, but the physicality in this game was just insane. It was hard hitting. It was no prisoner. If you like physical rugby where big grown men bash the living snot out of each other, and they do it for 80 minutes, and they have complete disregard for themselves and anyone else around them, this is the game to watch. It was just so physical. Look, the commentary team talked at halftime about how well, like you said, how many errors there were so many mistakes and drop balls, and yeah, there was. But you don't really care when you're just watching, and there's just guys getting smashed, blowing through rucks, line breaks, and then getting absolutely pummeled. It was just a really fun, exciting, proper, like, real game of rugby that I think was a really good advertisement for the game, because you weren't watching the scoreboard. You certainly weren't watching the clock because you didn't want it to end. You're just waiting for the next phase of play. It went by like an absolute rocket in the end. And then having such a tight finish, Liner should have won that game for the Reds. The Reds should have won that game. They had so many more opportunities. And the Brumbies scored a lot of their tries out of kind of nothing, really. Like long ranges, Tom Wright. How good has he become on the last couple of weeks, by the way? We spoke about how he's kind of awoken last week, I'm pretty sure we did. And now, voila, he's the man that scored both their tries. And they just make it happen, the Brumbies. They just tick away. They take what they can, and they did well to hold on to that lead because they were under a lot of pressure throughout that game. But the Reds are no slouches. I mean, that game was just fun, man. If you want to even watch a game, rewatch a game of rugby, I would certainly, out of recent weeks of this competition, that would be one I'd watch again. Just for the way that those players are just absolutely throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, the knife block, the whole pantry, everything. The milk was getting thrown. It was really, really fun. And to be decided by such a small margin and a really close finish, it was a really good advertisement, I think, for the Australian game especially. But yeah, Brumbies, well done. Took their chances. And the goal kicking in the end, absolutely key. But hey, Tom Liner's a young guy, man. I think this will be good for him. You got to go through, like I say, you got to go through the lows to reach the highs. And we know Lolo Sio's definitely been through those highs. I think that time in France has done him absolute wonders, not only for his goal kicking game, but just his general command at 10. And I think we've seen a lot of players coming back for the Northern Hemisphere, like you, Mick Nichols, as well, talking about what they've learned from the game, not really rugby related, but more mental related, and to bringing that back to Super Rugby, where that sort of style of thing can turn a good player into a very good player. I won't go too far on Johnny McNichol, but in Lolo Sia's case, he could become a world-class player now with that sort of experience, I think, behind him, leading that Brumbies team. So, yeah, really exciting, fun game. Enjoyed the snot out of it. Unfortunately, the Reds lost, which was my picker, but I did get the Rebels right earlier. So, from my two riskies, I got 1 out of 2, which I'm not too displeased about. But, yeah, we're seeing some incredible players coming through Australia right now, right? Jordan Petaia had his one good game of the season, so he'll be relevant in Australian rugby for at least the next 12 months until he needs to have another one. And good to see Paisami coming up good too as well. But when you look through, and I did want to mention this as well, in Australian rugby, when I was watching that game, Dylan Peach at the Waratahs, Corey Toole, Tom Wright, Noanganetawazi, who else was there? Was that Lockie Anderson? There's this pace, man. There is some serious pace on the wings in Australian teams. And it's not just pace. They've actually got finishing ability, steps and skills and that as well. There is some serious young talent in those outside wing positions for Australia coming up as well. So keep your eyes peeled on those guys. They are going to be fun if they can get them the ball.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is the situation there for the Brumbies. One of the things that Tom Wright's doing was played really well in his hand. It was him, and he had Toole outside him. And the opposition guy knows Toole scored 6 tries this season. I cannot leave this guy. And so the fact they've now got guys who complement each other and can support each other means that it's not just, okay, I don't have to worry about the other guy because when Tom Wright passes the ball to him, he's just going to go slow and I'll get him anyway. No, nowadays, I've got to stay on my guy. I can't come in and support to hit Tom Wright. And that's what gets Tom Wright his second try. Is that Toole holds the other guy outside him because of the threat he is. They've now got Toole, equal top try scorer on 6. Right, equal next crowd behind on 5. 2 wingers with 11 tries between the two of them. So that's a fantastic thing, fantastic tool to have. Now, there's a lot of players, and we've got 5 players. 6 players on 5 players, 6 players on 5 tries, 3 players on 6 tries. So you've got 8 players in that crowd there who it's very tight for the top try scorer this year. But to have 2 of them on your team, where one of them can just hold the defense and everyone just has to. You can't slide off people to come back and mark the good guy, which is great for the Brumbies at the moment, because how the hell they were leading 7-10 at half time just does the head in. 62% possession, 56% territory. The Reds had all the play in that first half and just did bugger all with it. They had 8 clean breaks during the whole game to 4 clean breaks by the Brumbies. They only missed 11 tackles compared to 27 by the Brumbies. They ran 708 meters to only 413 by the Brumbies. How the Reds did not win this game, from a stats point of view, is unreal. Yeah, this shouldn't come down to 2 kicks that Tom Liner missed. Oh, sorry, one that he missed and one that Crichton missed. It shouldn't come down to those two kicks at the end of the day. It's not on his shoulders really. It's on the rest of the team for not finishing moves off. Now the fact that the Brumbies took everything on offer meant they squeezed home, and the fact that Lolosio nailed all those and probably knew at the time, if I don't get this, we lose. That I have to make these kicks because we are living on scraps here, boys. We need to make the most of everything, and under that pressure, and against one of their top Derby teams, nailed it. It's fantastic for him, and fantastic news to share from that. So quickly onto the table then. Kane's at the top there with 27 points, 6 games, 6 wins, only 3 bonus points. A bit of a surprise there, really, considering they've scored 33 tries in 6 games. 108 points difference, puts them miles out in the leader there as well. Next up, you've got the Blues and the Brumbies both on 22 points, only separated by a points difference, which the Blues lead. Then another 4 points back to the Chiefs on 18 points. Then we into a group of 3 teams that got 3 wins. The Reds on 16, Rebels on 14, and the Fijian Drua on 13 points. So it gets tight there. The Highlanders then rounding out the 8 with 2 wins from their 6 games on 11 points. And then I guess the kind of chasers, Moana, Pacifica on 9 points. The Waratahs on 8 points because, look, they've got 1 win, but they've got 4 losing bonus points from their 5 losses. They, when you look at it like that, they could be sat in 4th place with about 10 points difference. They could be so much higher up, but I'm sure it's hard reading. The Crusaders off the board now on 6 points, and the Force bring up the rear on 5 points at the bottom there. So only 4 games next week. We kick off then with one of the easiest picks of the season. The Blues hosting the Blues in second place with 22 points, having scored 177 points and only allowed 92 in, i.e. the strongest defence in the league, up against the Western Force, who have scored 134 points and allowed in 198. And it's in Auckland. It's not in Western Perth. The Force have flown. Now I don't know if they've flown straight to Auckland from Fiji, or if they've flown all the way home to Perth and then back to Auckland. Either way, anybody who is not backing the Blues and putting any kind of money or any kind of tips on the Force, really either is bribing all the players to get it to fix the result, or needs a head sing to, in my book. Steve?
If there was any chance of the Western Force, they'd have to be playing in Perth, right? If this game's in Perth,
in Perth, be different, but yeah. But
surely they won't fly all the way back to Perth, right? I mean, you don't go from Fiji. You were saying before, they'll have to go Fiji, probably to Auckland already, then to Sydney, I'd guess, and then across to Perth. That's like a 1, 2, 3 flight sort of trip, and then 3 to 4 days later you go back to Sydney and then back to Auckland. No, come on, that would be silly. That would be really silly. So they're spending the week in Auckland. I would put a big chunky bet on. But yeah, sorry, Force. I've liked your tenacity this season, but no, sorry. Blues, 99% can't be wrong. I'm going with them this time.
Rebels versus the Drua. Now this one. Now remember, okay, first off, folks, this is not in Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
The Fijian Drua have won 3 games in Fiji. They've lost 3 games outside of Fiji. There is a very, very big correlation to where they're playing. Now, everybody who has been tipping is remembering that fun game against the Reds and thinking, hey, this team is going to throw the ball around and rip this Rebels to pieces. I'm sorry, but this isn't in Fiji. This is in Melbourne, where it's going to be dry, and they're not going to slip off tackles and stuff. I'm going for the Rebels on this one. I think this Rebels team have got themselves the right kind of some real metal about them, and I think this Drua team are fantastic at home, but haven't learned how to travel yet. I think we're a couple of years away from that. So to me, I'm going Rebels.
Yeah, location is 100% key for this one for me. Yep, in Fiji, Drua got that one on lockdown, but I think Amy Park is going to be it's stretched too far for them on this occasion. I think they'll be good. I think they'll be fun, but I like what the Rebels are bringing. I like how they're starting to build and develop and actually show some decent performances. So yeah, I'm definitely going against the majority on this one. I'm going for a big home win for the Rebels. 2 in a row, man. 2 in a row. The Rebels could do it as underdogs for me. So I got to back the boys to do it. But they don't have any midweek kind of disasters, right? Like there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes in this Rebels team too that can easily make a team kind of lose their momentum. So provided they have a nice clean week at home, no pay squabbles, Filippo, I'm looking at you. Just cruise on in, deal with the Drua, deal with that crap at the end of the season. Then you go all your politics, right? Yeah, Rebels home.
Look, and as with a lot of these teams, the Rebels are really need 2 or 3 players to be there. And if one of those gets injured in training, and I'm thinking Kellaway, for example,
he's out.
Sorry,
he didn't play last week. He week. No, he was out last week.
Sure,
he did not. No, Jack Strawn started at fullback. Kellaway didn't play. He got injured during the week. I don't know how bad it is, but he did not play. So he was out for that big game.
There you go. So clearly I was blind watching that game, or watching the highlights at least.
I thought that was even a bigger shock to that too, because the fact that he was missing, kind of at the start of it, you're like, oh, this is going to be a bit rough when they've lost that big linchpin sort of guy. But yeah.
Yeah, Strachan, sorry. Yep, absolutely. Yep, you're right. Okay. So yeah, so
I don't know if he'll be back. Well, hopefully. Hopefully.
So yeah, so whilst on the tipping competition, 63% of people think that the Drua are going to win. If you look at the TAB, the Rebels are favourites at $1.92 compared to $1.95 for the Drua. So the bookies say this is a tight one with very, very, very slight favourites favourite at home. The opinion on the tippers is that this Fijian Drua team is going somewhere. They are, but at home, right? They're not going anywhere away for a year or two, I don't think. Next up, one where the tipping does agree with the actually, and which one about the Blues force. 99% to 1, and the bookie says $1.05 to $8.50. The bookie agrees there. The bookie agrees also for the Chiefs versus Moana, $1.04. So the Chiefs are even shorter odds than the Blues, and $9 for Moana. This is in Hamilton. $98 to 2% on the pickers. This is home win all of the way. Here with the Chiefs. I'm sorry, but Moana. Well, look, we need a serious improvement on the Blues. Now, hopefully that's a blip, and actually we'll get back to the competitive game plan that we've seen from Moana. But even with that, I can't see them beating the Chiefs.
You know what positive there is? Compared to those first 2 games, at least they don't have to travel far, right? Straight down the road. They don't have to jump in 3 flights to get back to where they're going. Hey, the reason why this game's going to be interesting for me is, like you're saying, how they bounce back or how they return from that game against the Blues. I don't care what the score is here. I just need to see a market improvement. Look, when Moana's at their best, I reckon they're a team, if the Chiefs don't play their best, they could certainly pull away an upset. But yeah, you're only as good as your last performance, and this tipping competition surely does show that everyone's memory only seems to be about 5 to 7 days long, because they can't seem to remember anything from the earlier week. So yeah, Moana down. Chiefs though, yeah, it's going to be a big mental comeback for Moana. I do hope they compete, but I do feel like the Chiefs selection-wise will be interesting. If you're going to pick some time to play young guys, wouldn't you pick this game maybe as opposed to the last week?
Oh yes,
but exactly. So yeah, but yeah, Chiefs all the way, no question about that. But yeah, I'm more interested in seeing what Moana are going to come up with.
Yeah, this is the game you give that young
Yes.
guy at 10 a run out, not
Mhm.
against the Crusaders down in Christchurch, for crying out loud.
Home, easy team. Well, should be easy team.
Yeah.
On a form slump, ticks the boxes.
Next one, I think is a lot closer than the tipping suggests. Okay, so Brumbies versus Waratahs, 94% have gone for the Brumbies already, opposed to 6% of the Waratahs. Now I've already mentioned the Waratahs. I think have picked up 4 losing bonus points in their 5 losses. They don't lose big, but then again, this Brumbies is 5 wins from 6 games. Even when, as we saw against the Reds, they haven't got the ball, they haven't got the territory, they know how to defend, having only given up 129 points. So the only 2 teams that have given up less are the Hurricanes and the Blues. So defensively, the Brumbies are solid. They know how to keep themselves in games and win close ones. And so hence I'm going to go with the Brumbies, but I don't think it's as clear cut as the picking suggests. Now the TAB kind of agrees with me to a bit. $1.30 for the Brumbies. Remember, it's $1.04, $1.05 for the Chiefs and the Blues, and $3.50 for the Waratahs. So yes, the Brumbies go into this as favourites, but they're not 94% favourites. It is definitely closer than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that one. I think it's going to be a decent little game. I think the Brumbies definitely good enough to win this one. I don't think it'll be as close as the Reds in terms of scoreboard, but I think you'll probably be looking at a single figure margin with the Waratahs desperately doing what they typically do well, is they kind of hang around a little bit. They hang around, they kind of self-implode a bit, but they still hang around enough to make a bit of a contest out of it. But yeah, the professionalism, the finishing, the squad that the Brumbies have, I just think would be too good for them at the end of the day. So yeah, if you're going to go margin, I think this is a probably 8 to 14 sort of point split between the sides.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that 2-1. But it's not going to blow out in the same kind of way that the Blues Force and the Chiefs Moana might do. I'm not saying they will,
yes,
but they've definitely got the potential for it. Whereas this one, it's the Brumbies aren't a side that blow you out, but they are a side who control you. I mean, the fact that they defend really, really well, and then they got a couple of strike weapons that can create things from nothing in their wingers. Let's be honest. So
and they're composed. They don't get rattled. You don't rattle the Brumbies.
Yeah. And that's what that's your Lolosio difference now, is that he doesn't get rattled anymore. And now I think they've lost their scrum half, I think it is, or is it or someone, or they might have had a couple of injuries. But even so, you say squad for the Brumbies here on this last one. So pretty simple picking, folks. I'm going all home. Well, we're both going all home games in this, but just to warn you here about how important or how wonderful my kicking has been. My picking has been. I'm up into 5th place now in our league with 21 points. There, which is not too bad. You're in 2nd place at the moment with 23, but Sean, with his Sabre Hunters on 26 picks, is leading the way in our picking league there. But so I'm coming round after what was a rather abysmal start to the season with my picking. I might even put a multi on for 4 home wins this week, because it's Rebels Fiji. Rebels draw is probably the only one to me that's that's clearly the one that's most in the balance. I think Brumbies Waratahs could be the best game of the weekend, for my mind. Being the derby and all that kind of stuff will bring that kind of edge to it as well.
I mean, who the guy is that made these fixtures too is probably going like, bugger, I've screwed this up a little bit, because, at least games, you kind of don't want to lose your impactfulness of the competition. The competition's been really good, right? Interest has been quite high. The rugby's been quite good quality. There's not been huge amount of blowouts and stuff like that. But now you're giving the buys, so you got less games. You can't just scrub off 1 or 2 and go like, okay, they were an anomaly. We've still had 4 or 5 really good games. This weekend there's a possibility that we could have, one good game, as in a good game of rugby, one close game between 2 mid-lier teams, and then a couple of blowouts is a pretty big possibility. And opportunity missed of probably the teams that they expected to be flying high, not flying high so much.
No,
vice versa.
Sorry, but this, if you ever thought that the Blues Force or Chiefs and Moana at home,
that's what I mean.
We're going to be close.
He wishes he could have done other games. That's what I'm saying.
But again, this comes back to the administrators have no fucking idea how to run a competition. Okay,
exactly. Yeah.
This entire competition, as far as New Zealand rugby is concerned, is about producing All Blacks to have a good All Blacks team. They do not give a. They don't. I would go down to really badly swearing. They do not care at all about who watches this competition, or what kind of audience this competition has. It's all about making sure we have All Blacks ready for the All Black tests. It's got, as far as anyone actually watching this tournament, they'll talk about how, it's important to have blah blah blah. All their actions say they do not care who watches this, if anybody watches these tournaments. Everything is about the All Blacks. It's not about these teams at all. So no, these are an appalling set of fixtures for a small round. The administrators piss up brewery cannot do. Springs to mind. And on that positive note, it's very concerning that Sky Sports has not bought any NPC games anymore. Ouch. There we go. Yes and no on that one, Simon. So Sky Sports might not have bought any NPC games, but that does mean that the provinces might be able to actually sell the games to who they want to and not have to be controlled by New Zealand Rugby. Now, let's see if the provinces can do a better job of marketing the game. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not very optimistic about that. Yes, I was going to say enthusiastic. Optimism is what we're looking for. I'm not very optimistic about that, to be honest with you, because unfortunately, when you start talking with the provinces, you're talking about 14 people with their own vested interests. Now, there are some very good administrators at that level who are trying some really cool things in some provinces, and there are other provinces you look at and go, "What the hell are you doing?" All right, it's the right mixture at that level. But there are some very good and well-run provinces who are trying some really interesting things. For example, Bay of Plenty, getting themselves into global rapid rugby, right? That's what it was called, wasn't it? The Andrew Forrester thing. Yeah. Right. They actually got a team into that thinking, hey, here's an alternative route we've got for our professional players, rather than having to follow entirely the New Zealand rugby system. Now, sure, it was called the China Lions, but I'll tell you, all but 2 players were Bay of Plenty or were NPC players, and 2 came from China. Was the plan for that team. So whilst it was called China Rugby, it was not a China Rugby team at the end of the day. That was a Bay of Plenty team. With a few friends from Waikato and etc. The surrounding provinces. So they say there are some, and you look at the work that is happening up in Northland, is how they've hosted the Women's Rugby World Cup. They've basically got New Zealand Rugby to pay for entirely new training facilities and pitches for themselves up there for their teams. It's like, right, yeah. On the NPC side, yeah, okay, but on the actual administration of running a union, really done some clever things and doing some right things there. Counties Manukau coming out and saying, we told Moana Pacifica we can make it happen, and they said no. They're like, we're really trying here, folks, to get some rugby here. So yes, so there are there are some I say some administrators around at provincial level that are doing some really cool things. There are others. I'm looking at you, Auckland Rugby, who are just so old Blazer Brigade, and really, this is how it's done, and it's how it will be done forever. You just like, I just give up. There's just no point even trying. So that's the problem with the provinces taking control of it, is that how does that power struggle play out? Is it the forward-thinking, interesting administrators who, if you haven't noticed, are working at the smaller unions, or is it the die-in-the-wool Blazer guys of this is how things are done, traditionalists who end up ruling? We'll have to see how that pans out. Cool. Anything else?
Cool. Not too much. No. I was just looking at the Women's Six Nations results from the weekend. Thought you might be gloating about that, of England going 2-0, but yeah, all good.
I've basically not been following the international the women's rugby there, but I did spot actually that Scotland were 5-15 against France, which I thought was a good result for Scotland. I was expecting, especially France would be look after those 40 odd points wins over the Black Ferns a couple of years back. To get that close by Scotland, I thought was a good result. England 46-10 against Wales. Yep, kind of expected. Ireland 21, Italy 27. Look, again, Italy doing some really, really, really good work in their development programs away from that top team. Why did Italy have a good Six Nations? Well, because Conor O'Shea about a decade ago put in some really good structures to head towards that team, and they've continued with it. They've been doing really well at the under-20s, and look, we're seeing that through the women's team as well. Ireland, well, hey, remember, they're the team, 2 years ago, where all the women complained to the national team, the national thing, and went up to the parliament and stuff. Complete bit of a mess there, where I think they have changing rooms that were in tents next to the bins for one game or something stupid like that. Just like, seriously, guys, what are you guys playing? I don't think that was international level. I think that was level down maybe, but even so, the women's game just really not being treated properly historically there, and Italy putting some effort in and getting results. So fantastic for them.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to follow it. So I've not followed it too much before, but yeah, good to see a bit more closeness than probably seen in the past, right? It's good to see these teams like say Scotland and Italy and to an extent Ireland as well, putting some decent performances and making it a bit more competitive, which I think is the biggest thing, is trying to get all these teams up to a good level of competitive rugby. Like we saw in the men's Six Nations this year, right?
Yep. I'm interested that South Africa have had a couple of games as well. 13-15 win over Spain, and then losing to the USA 38-17 there in that one. So South Africa slots maybe starting to take the women's game a little bit more seriously after they qualified for the sevens at one of the Olympics, and then turned around and told their women that they weren't allowed to go because they weren't medal prospects or something stupid. And you're just like, seriously, guys, wow. You're telling me the South African Rugby Union can't afford to send a sevens team to the Olympics?
Which is only in France.
I can't remember if it's the French one or the one before, to be honest, but either way.
It's not this one coming up, the one before. No,
it's quite an old one. I can't remember if it was with Japan or the one before that. But you're just kind of thinking, Jesus, guys, come on.
Only a few months away.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, if you're interested in that, folks, apparently there's some sevens SVNS sevens going on this weekend. No idea what it means, but there we go.
Just sevens, that's what they call it now.
So what used to be the HSBC World Series or something stupid anyway, is Hong Kong. It's Hong Kong Sevens weekend this weekend. Oh, I wish. Jeez.
Get on the plane. There you go. Off you go.
As you can probably tell, it's about the Hong Kong party side of it, not about the sevens. The sevens is good fun to watch, but yeah, get
Sell
your
the house.
get your get your fancy dress on, get down like Kwai Fong, or which as we used to kind of nickname it, lick my thong, down there and have some fun. Anyway, on that note,
Oh, dear.
good night, everybody. We'll be back next Monday to take you through the Super Rugby. We will not be taking you through the sevens, the Hong Kong sevens, because we won't watch any of it. We might mention who wins it, but hey, it should be Fiji, surely.
4 games. That's half an hour each.